Glenda Pickersgill grew up in the Mary Valley, knowing well the best swimming, canoeing and fishing areas along the Mary River and its tributaries. With a Bachelor of Agricultural Science with first-class honours, specialising in land resources management and qualifications in business management, holistic management and agriculture, Glenda spent 20 years in the field of environmental management in the mining industry. Glenda has been a self-employed grazier land manager of 2 cattle properties in the Mary River catchment for over 30 years, improving productivity by implementing Alan Savory's holistic management methods and creating wildlife corridors and restoring stream banks, amongst other property improvements. Glenda's vision is wider understanding, protection and enhancement of the agricultural and natural environment of the Mary River catchment for future generations. She is passionate about conserving water, improving water quality, restoring land and providing habitat for our threatened species to multiply and no longer be endangered. Glenda was selected for the inaugural IRF Clem Jones Fellowship to attend the 22nd International River Symposium 2019. The fellowship helped raise awareness of the Mary River water planning issues, and Glenda continues to advocate for community involvement in seeking better solutions than taking more water from our river systems. Glenda is a member of the Environment Institute of Australia and New Zealand. She was placed 3rd in the 2007 Queensland Landcare River Care Award, and she received the Kalula Mayor's Award in 2008 for outstanding service to the community. Please welcome our 3rd speaker, Glenda Pickersgill.
Thanks very much, Lauren, and that's wonderful to be here, and thanks to all the audience for coming out tonight, and certainly initiative to get this very important topic as a conversation is really timely, and I'll explain that further through my talk. So first of all, I'll talk about my story and some of the learnings that I had from the Traveston Crossing Dam proposal. I'll then go on to share with you the steps in the water planning process and where it is at the moment post the Traveston Crossing Dam. And thirdly, I'll touch on some of the issues around Gympie Regional Council, the region and the security and the work that they've, what I can glean that's been starting to happen. So I guess it's about sharing with you some opportunities, and those opportunities are in the next 2 years. It's crucial. So as we go through, I'll point that out to you, and then we'll talk about what we can go further with. So my story about the river is, I guess at 16 years of age, I convinced my parents to buy a property on the river because I love to go and swim there. It's quite simple. There's been a lot of places around the world you can't swim in the water anymore. The water quality has gone so bad, deteriorated because of over-allocation, over-extraction, regulation, affecting the flows in the river. So we are very fortunate here, and I think we're seeing now much more appreciation with the river walk and that in Gympie, which is just wonderful to see. But the river has got its challenges to have land on the river, and one of the biggest challenges for our family was 1992 and the 1994 floods, where we had extensive bank erosion. And of course these bank erosions, their long-term impact, because the river goes all the way to the sea, is that you get sediments that will carry right out in plumes that can be seen by satellites. So our family fenced off the river and off-stream watering points so the stock weren't going down to the river, and we did a lot of work with revegetation. And so you can see some examples there of how it's come back over the time. And it's always a challenge every flood that comes through, but I think we're making some good progress. Yeah. So the Mary River is the most significant unregulated coastal river in southeast Queensland from a biodiversity and conservation perspective. So that's really important. We've got something really special in our backyard. And I must admit, when I was 16, I did not know I was swimming with ancient creatures. Things like the Mary River turtle and the Mary River cod and the lungfish, all of which can live to be 100 years old. And I had no idea when I was 16 that I was swimming around with these creatures. And it wasn't until Marilyn Connell, the lady in the right-hand side up there, from Tyro Landcare, who has devoted her life to protecting the turtle and learning about the turtle, that I had the wonderful opportunity to be part of looking at as Marilyn did her masters, looked at the population dynamics, and what came out of that was some really good learnings about how little we know, how little we understand of why we've got these quite large aged individuals, but lacking in the recruitment. And I think that's such an important aspect that we don't fully understand. These creatures don't start to breed until they're 10, 15 years old. So it's quite an amazing life cycle. And of course, the left-hand side there showing the Mary River turtle, the male on the left-hand side with his very, very long tail, with the female on the other side. So I got a chance to cuddle them, and the picture at the bottom was the lungfish that got away. Sometimes you just have these amazing days, we call them the lungfish days, where with a certain amount of fresh in the river, there will be quite significant numbers that will be moving through, and in one case we had 40, which lungfish is a metre to a metre long, 40 in one of the fyke nets that we use specially for capturing the turtles. So yeah, there's some amazing stories that we've had with just learning about those creatures. So the Mary River already is under stress, and particularly in low flows. And back in 2006, we were seeing severe aquatic weed problems, a water hyacinth that covered many, many kilometres of the river. We actually got up in a plane, Steve Burgess and I, and we mapped how extensive it was. It was right down into the barrages. Of course, that comes with low dissolved oxygen. We had some fish kills. And there was no water getting to the sea. Now, I'll talk a little bit more about that, why that's so critical. But the Mary River has gone through stressful times. So the Mary River feeds the Ramsar wetlands of the Great Sandy Straits. Pretty amazing to fly over them as well, which we had some international visitors that were very, very impressed with that. So this is showing the straits between the mouth of the Mary River and the Fraser Island, and it's all interconnected. Freshwater flows have to get to those areas for all the life cycles of the species down there. Very important in understanding the water catchment for the Mary is that there's a wet area, which is up in Mullaney area, and most of the rainfall occurs up there. And when you have a dam up there, which is Bruin Pocket Dam, it's trapping quite a bit of significant proportion of the water that should eventually be going down to the bottom to feed the Great Sandy Straits. So the northern section is very significantly drier. And once you start to take water from the top, you don't have the quantities of water going down to the bottom. So as we've talked a little bit about the current water planning, it all comes under the Water Act, and the Mary Basin Water Resource Plan is a key legislative instrument that was the last revision was 2006, and it justified that there was 150,000 megalitres per year could be taken from the river as a strategic reserve. It wasn't scientifically based, and with numerous flaws that we were able to point out through the Traveston Crossing Dam campaign. So the yield's just not there. The impacts of lower rainfall, and particularly the last decade, was not included in that modelling that was justified. You make numbers say whatever you like, and I guess that's what was happened in that case. But we've now got some interesting data coming out, even looking at ice cores and how in the past, and going back 1,000 years, we have very significant drought periods that can be up to 30 to 50 years, and the risk and the probability is far higher than what we ever imagined from the small window of the last 100 years of actually measuring. So I've mentioned that the existing water resource plan, which is still in place at the moment, really shows that they can't meet the current environmental flows at a number of the points along the river, that the salinity issues exist during very low flows, and there's no legal requirement for freshwater flows to go to the sea. The water resource plan finishes at the barrages just north of Tyro, and there's no requirement to have the quantities of water going to support the downstream areas of the Great Sandy Straits. In fact, they use the barrages as dams with 100% allocation for irrigation. So a lot of the time, even the fishways, the water level is not high enough for the fishways to function properly. So part of the planning, you have a water resource plan, Mary Basin Water Resource Plan. From that, they have a resource operations plan that works through how they'll allocate the water, water trading. So I guess the point is, when you have a flawed plan at the top, you can't have an operation plan that's going to be functional for the river. Yep. This is just a schematic which Steve Burgess put together, which is a lovely idea of the siphoning of water out of the catchment, mostly from Baroon Pocket Dam. Water from Baroon Pocket Dam is very cheap because it's gravitation. So the water is being taken from there, as well as from the pumping station at Goomong, to the other side of Kandanga. And that goes over to the Noosa water treatment plant at Lake McDonald. It can tap into the water from Barumba Dam. So there's actually two regulators that control the whole river system for the Mary. The top section is the South East Queensland Water, and the bottom section is Unity Water. And they've got two different objectives. It's not a good way to manage a catchment. We really should have one regulatory thing, and then we'll have good outcomes for the river. So I'll go on to the second section, talking about the water supply security planning. And the water use back in 2006 was actually 450 litres per person per day for South East Queensland. So we're not in South East Queensland, but it's all intertwined because our water is being moved from the Mary catchment into South East Queensland for water. So so there was a Queensland Water Commission established to bring on the South East Queensland water grid, which connects a number of dams and comes back and actually connects up into the Mary system. 2006, we had the Mary Basin Water Resource Plan was announced, and Susie gave a very good summary of what truly happened there. And then it was justified, the Traveston Crossing Dam. The numbers were pretty well a good fit. 2009, we were successful in overturning that decision, and during that time period, South East Queensland water use was actually due through restrictions in education, came down to 150 litres per person per day. So incredible change in behaviour, and to Anna Bly's credit, I think she did a wonderful job in that, and also she was able to get the Western Corridor recycling scheme underway, and that again was a very tall, a very good initiative. 2013, the Queensland Water Commission ceased. 2016, the revision of the Mary Basin Water Resource Plan, which should have happened 10 years after the original one was, the last one was done, was postponed by the Minister, and saying that they wanted more information, more research, and obviously they're looking very closely because we had a lot of information now through the EIS of the Traveston Crossing Dam to understand what was going on. So 2016 also, South East Queensland Water had was given the responsibility for planning long strategic security for water security for South East Queensland, and they brought out Waters for Life 2016 through to 2046. The next year they brought out a version 2. And version 2 is very interesting, and I have a few snippets which is very relative to, very important to us in the Mary Valley. So 2021, so next year, September, the Water Resource Plan for the Mary Basin is scheduled to come out. At the moment, we haven't had any community consultation in regards to that, and that is really concerning. There was a good process that happened last time. We're not seeing any involvement yet. In 2022, the next version of Water for Life comes out. And when we look at a couple of the details in that Water for Life program, you'll see that it's very pertinent. We've got a 2-year window to really, less than 2 years, to really get some conversations and discussions around water security. Water for Life, SEQ Water, version 2. It shows that they're looking at options. There's a shortfall that they see in the future for the northern section of the South East Queensland, probably because of Caloundra South, where they really haven't got a water supply properly worked out there. There was some really good planning that was going to be demand management and decentralised systems, but when the Newman government came in, they decided to take those conditions away from that development. So what's being proposed is to take more water out of the Mary, either in a number of options, and all of this, they say, is on the table for discussion. But what alarms me is that harvesting water in the Gympie region, pumping it back up to the existing Barumba Dam, via off-stream storages, an option where the actual dam would be raised, and the third option there is to do with building a weir on the main stream of the river, probably about 2 or 3 kilometres upstream of where I live, and who knows how big a weir would be being proposed. There's no details, it's just highlighting that that's consideration options at the moment. Another option for the northern section is desalination, and I guess you've heard a little bit about the feelings that some communities have, particularly where they're planning to, it was Markula that they were planning, is one of the ones on the table, yeah. Okay. So at the moment, security-wise for South East Queensland, when the dams in the water grid get down to 60%, they turn on the switch to bring up the desalination plant of the Gold Coast to full production, and they start to recommission the Western Corridor recycling. They're calling it the recycling project? Yes. So it's 60%. Now, at the moment, it's sitting at 62%. It has dipped under to 60% on November last year, and there was a start-up of the desal plant, not the recycling plant. So essentially, there was $9 billion spent on the water grid, including the desal and the Western Corridor water recycling plant. But essentially, they don't turn it on or use it until they've really sucked out all the water out of the surface supplies. At the same time as it gets to 60%, they also start to re-educate, and at the moment, a full-on education for water conservation. And at the moment, we're sitting on 172 litres per person per day for South East Queensland. So they have a target of 160 litres per person per day, and then as it drops down further, they lower the target. But there's lots of water. There's not shortages of water, there's lots of water, and I love to look at this particular little slide from the International Water Centre that clearly shows we have lots of stormwater that's not captured. We have lots of wastewater, and about a bit less than half is wastewater. So it's just that we're not using water efficiently. I think I've probably covered most of those points. Can we do better? So more rainwater tanks. I mean, I don't believe the councils are saying, and this is local government councils, are saying every new house has to have a water tank, but they should be. Even if it's plumbed into the toilet and an outside tap, if there's a problem of water quality. So stormwater collection, lots of opportunities to do that. Even dry cooling for powerhouses, more recycling, well, more desalination. Well, I guess it's out there as an option. It is energy intensive, but it's way Western Australia have gone with Perth. They have a drop in about 40% of their stream flows because of the drop in the rainfall over there. So they don't have dams that have got enough water, as Peter alluded to. And so 2 desalination plants supply 40% of Perth's water at the moment, and they also continue to get water from groundwater. So all these things above should be what should be happening before we take more water from the Mary River, because we've got a system where if we look at the predictions, our river system has to cope with much less rainfall, higher temperatures, less runoff. Yeah, and it's not just the river; it's all the fresh water that needs to go to the ocean. Sometimes, even in weirs, and certainly in dams, the latest few that have been worked on, they've proposed that you can always have a fishway to get around fish passage. We've yet to see anything that's really working efficiently. And Paradise Dam, the second last dam that was built by the government, has problems with stability. They've got to lower the wall, the spillway. What else? Millions of dollars on the fishway that doesn't work. Fish lift, in that case, a fish lift and a fish slot. So fish lift to go up and fish slot to go down. But anyway, it's something we took to the federal courts because we felt there was enough evidence to say that it certainly wasn't good enough for a lungfish. Thirdly and last, just a touch on the local scene with the Gympie Regional Council, and I'm no expert on what's going there, but I just had a look on the website to glean a little bit from the annual reports. I thought there was a couple of interesting little things there. There is a long-term water resilience strategy being worked on by council, state government and SEQ Water, and that was in the Water and Sewerage Annual Performance Report. No more details. I couldn't glean anything from it's supposedly on time, So someone's out there working on it. We haven't heard any details, but hopefully we might hear something. There might be a draft come out for comment for the community to look at. Would be very, very encouraging, and certainly what I'll be asking to see happen. The total water sourced per year for Gympie region is 4,176 megalitres per year, and it returns in $11 million. Water is a lot of money in water. It's a real, certainly governments want to have control of water because it makes money. It's liquid gold. But of that, 84% is from surface water, so from the river, and 13% is groundwater. So I guess if you look at that from that perspective, how resilient, how secure is that if we get less rainfall and less stream runoff? There's certainly a question that's not really the best solutions out there that we could be doing. We could certainly be putting a lot more tanks on our new buildings, our existing buildings, and there is an opportunity there with we look at the quantity of total water treated and untreated discharge, 2,378 megalitres a year, and so that's about 57% of the water sourced is actually wastewater. That is an opportunity for us. Benchmarking report compares all the different government areas in Queensland. I thought that was an interesting one to have a look at and just where we sat with that. So the annual residential bill that should read less than $600 a year. It's less than the state median of about $800. And that Gympie is in the top 4 for real water losses. And that's not spelt right, but that's all right. So they've actually got real water losses of 150 litres per service per day, which is double the state median of 76. So there could be an opportunity there. I'm not sure why they're losing so much water, but it's there. There's an opportunity to be more efficient for sure. So in summary, Mary River is very special, and I guess as people have to experience to really get that connection, and I think we've had a lot of opportunities now through the Traveston Crossing Dam, the Save the Mary campaign, to really raise that and educate people and get them involved. And we know from that water resource planning that the water is over-allocated. So the water resource plan is to be revised and has to be out by September 2021, which is next year. We've got less than a year to get some really good, because we do have some very good knowledge within the community, and I think for a best result from a plan moving forward to involve the community in a proper way, builds confidence and you get much better outcomes. The third point there is about the South East Queensland Water Security Program, that Water for Life, which plans out for the next 30 years. The version 2 lists those options of taking more water from the Mary River, and it's putting out there. Well, there's also that desalination option, but there's that whole decentralisation opportunity, I think, and stormwater harvesting that I think if we can get some more local government involvement and support, that we can get much better results than having to get to the point where we've got to take more water from the Mary or build another desal plant. But it's being revised in 2022, and we need to have the Mary River catchment community to be involved in that. We can't be the outsiders because we've got our water at stake, and we have to be around the table talking about and putting out our reasons why we don't want more water to be taken from the Mary. Because we've got to protect the river, we've got to protect the freshwater flows to the Great Sandy Straits, and we need better environmental flows from our existing dams and a plan that protects that freshwater flow to the Great Sandy Strait. So I'll just finish with a couple of nice slides of, our Mary River community we've got form. We can do some great things, and restoration work along the river is certainly one of our fortes. There's a lot of landholders have dedicated a lot of their time to do just that, to get those banks stabilised. And we've got intergenerational equity to think of here. We want to have a good, healthy river system to leave for our future generations. We should be better than what we are at the moment. We have to think about how we can bring those endangered species back from being endangered to being thriving. Our people care about the Mary. We had some fun. We had lots of fun with our flotillas. And that's just at my place, and one of the first flotillas was from my place, and it was lovely to see so many people enjoying the river, not only being able to paddle it, but to swim it and to walk along it is really, really precious. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenda.